这个我看啊 ，OK， 可以。So, good afternoon. Hi, everybody. My name is Heng. Nice to see you. Some of you this is your first class. You're welcome, glad you're here. We started this series 2 months ago, and we kind of made a decision. When you say meditation class, everybody's welcome, you bring in all kinds of folks who have all different levels of meditation experience, and that's the way we want it. We want people to come in and explore this practice of meditation and also get to know the monastery. The problem is that folks kind of drop in and then we don't see them again for 3 months, and whereas there are other folks who have been meditating for years and really want to kind of get past first base. And we aim this class at folks who have already made a commitment to their practice. Now, again, everyone is welcome. The problem is some of you are going to go, what? And that's built in because we're midstream, all right? So if that's you, if you feel like you're kind of left in the dust and you need some foundation, perfectly fine. We're happy to answer any kind of questions that people have, but in years past, we have constantly been going back to the basics, and folks who have a little experience feel frustrated because they are hearing the same principles over and over again. So if this were a university, this would be a 250 level class, maybe a 300 level class. Okay. Grab your we're learning to the Heart Sutra in your choice of language. If you can do both languages, super. If somebody insists on the Sanskrit, we can come up with a Sanskrit. Let's start with the Chinese. Here we go. sato ibore bolo mido. Shin wu gua ai gu yo kong bu yan li jian dao mu. Zhou jing nie pan san shi ju fo ibore bolo mido. An no bolo san miao san gu. 不知般若波罗蜜都是大圣就是大名，是无上就是无当中就能出一切，真实不虚不说般若波罗蜜多，即受昼夜揭谛揭谛波罗揭谛波罗僧揭谛菩提所。Alrighty. Ben mentioned last week that the way to get it, we had to squeeze it to get it onto one sheet, and the result was the romanization got squished together. Where you see line 1, 2, 3. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Wu shou shang xing shi. That's 5 words. Wu shou shang xing shi. That it got squished together is a mistake. So that's not one long 5-syllable word. It's 5 syllables. Okay. As I mentioned, here in the monastery, people are up early in the morning chanting, and this is one of the components of that chant. So every single morning of the world, monks and nuns and those who join the chanting recite the Heart Sutra. Further, at night, in the evening chanting, we recite the Heart Sutra. Anytime we do a funeral ceremony, we recite the Heart Sutra. I went to what's called the World Buddhist Forum in China just before COVID in 2019. And there's, 2,000 Buddhists gathered from all over the world. And the opening ceremonies had one piece of the program. There was incense praise and there was the Heart Sutra. So what we just did just now, all 3,000 people with their palms together recited the Heart Sutra just like we did. And that's the one piece that they pick out to do. So this is a signature aspect of the Chinese Mahayana tradition, which is our tradition, is the heart of Prajna Paramita Sutra, or the Heart of Perfect Wisdom Sutra, Heart Sutra. Okay, flip it over. We're going to do the same here. Homage to the Prajna assembly of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas as vast as the sea. Homage to the Prajna assembly of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas as vast as the sea. Homage to the Prajna assembly of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas as vast as the sea. The Heart of Prajna Paramita Sutra. When Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara was practicing the profound Prajna Paramita, she illuminated the 5 skandhas and saw that they were all empty, and she crossed beyond all suffering and difficulty. Shariputra, form does not differ from emptiness. Emptiness does not differ from form. Form itself is emptiness. Emptiness itself is form. So too are feeling, cognition, formation, and consciousness. Shariputra, all dharmas are empty of characteristics. They are not produced, not destroyed, not defiled, not pure, and neither increase nor diminish. Therefore, in emptiness there is no form, feeling, cognition, formation, or consciousness. No eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, or mind. no sight, sound, smells, tastes, object of touch or dharmas, no field of the eyes up to and including no field of mind consciousness, and no ignorance or ending of ignorance, up to and including no old age and death, or ending of old age and death. There is no suffering, no accumulating, no extinction, and no way, and no understanding, and no attaining. Because nothing is attained, the Bodhisattva, through reliance on Prajna Paramita, is unimpeded in her mind. Because there is no impediment, she is not afraid, and she leaves distorted dream thinking far behind. Ultimately, nirvana. All Buddhas of the 3 periods of time attain Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi through reliance on Prajna Paramita. Therefore know that Prajna Paramita is a great spiritual mantra, a great bright mantra, a supreme mantra, and an equal mantra. It can remove all suffering. It is genuine and not false. That is why the mantra of Prajna Paramita was spoken. Recite it like this. Gate, gate, paragate, parasamgate, bodhisvaha. And then we would add, end of the heart of Prajna Paramita Sutra. Okay. Now, it would be great, it would be really good if folks could pick one language and memorize the Heart Sutra. There will be a quiz at the end of the class. No, I'm kidding about that. The point of it is, this is for you to use. We picked this out to learn so that everybody would have something at the end of this semester that they could really say is theirs, something that you put effort into, absorbed, and can find its usefulness in every part of your life, not just your, religious, spiritual life, but the Heart Sutra is really, really valuable when things go wrong, when hard times come, when the wind blows hard, to be able to step aside, not to dodge, but to look directly at the heart of experience and empty it out. It's really, really useful to lighten up our attachments to states, insisting that they go our way, and when we realize we're not in control of the universe, we don't get knocked off our feet. This is a great solvent. Just think of WD-40, taking the rust off that bolt so you can open the door that's been rusted shut. This does that to experience. Okay, so pick one, Chinese or English. If you'd like Sanskrit, we got Sanskrit. Does anybody need this on your computer and don't have it, or digital form? Happy to send it to you. Okay, Sam, could you? Okay, good. We'll email it to you. Chinese or English, or both? Both, okay. English, both, both. Good stuff. Okay, we got to the title last time. Let's do the first paragraph. Here's what we're going to do today. I'm going to go through this first paragraph and focus on the 5 skandhas. Then I'm going to ask folks about your meditation, how it's going. Then we're going to pass out everybody a copy of the meditation handbook, which arrived. Yay! We got it from the US. And we also reprinted them, right? Some are printed here, is that right? 在这边影印吗？在澳大利亚？哦，在中国印的。哎 ，OK， 好 ，excellent. Okay, so when the Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara was practicing the profound Prajna Paramita, okay, interesting that this sutra begins with the experience of a bodhisattva. And a bodhisattva is an awakened being. It's the hero of our school, the Mahayana. not other Buddhist schools like the Theravada. They have different heroes. Ours is a bodhisattva. And this bodhisattva is Guanyin. That's Guanyin. She happens to be standing back there. Did you know Guanyin's standing here? Please be seated, Guanyin. There she is. We have this giant monster Guanyin image, which is just so big it scrapes the ceiling. You know, I don't know, Heng ordered these monster images and they wound up in this hall. This is not their final home. They're going to a bigger hall. Guanyin Bodhisattva is the awakened being of great compassion. Avalokiteshvara is the Sanskrit name of Guanyin. She is, and she's in female form, she is familiar to all of East Asia. In Vietnam, she is Quan Tiem Bota, Quan Tiem. In Hong Kong, it's Guanyim, right? Cantonese, Guanyim. In Japanese, she is Kanzeon Bosatsu, Guan Shiyin Bodhisattva, Kanzeon Bosatsu. In Chinese, it's Guan Shiyin. She'll probably, in the West, probably be Guanyin or Guan Shiyin, because Avalokiteshvara is a mouthful, you know. Guanyin we can actually say. Everybody say Guan, Yin, Guan Shi, Yin, Guan Shi Yin. Guan means to look at, to contemplate, but to look at with your mind or your heart, to contemplate, not only with your eyes. Shi is the world, meaning mundane world, the things around our senses, the things the senses report. And yin is voices or sounds. So contemplating worlds, sounds, or voices. And the reason that Guanyin contemplates worlds, sounds, or voices is because this particular, if we had to say what is Guanyin, what's a bodhisattva, in the West we have saints, you know, Saint Joseph, Saint Mary, etc. Guanyin is a saint, a bodhisattva, who has made a vow that anybody who calls her name, she will extend a hand and give you a hand. She'll lend you a hand when you need it. So the thing that Guanyin's hallmark is, they say, 春生救苦. When she hears your call, she comes to save you. She's there to help. And Guanyin has one of her appearances is with 1,000 hands, and every hand has an eye in the center of the hand. And they say she has 1,000 ears as well, 1,000 eyes, 1,000 hands, 1,000 ears, to save us when we need it. And my goodness, all I can say is it's true. It's really true. Guanyin is there to help. You have to sincerely ask for help, but when you do, the stories of Guanyin's miraculous rescues are legend. They lots and lots and lots. So when the Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara, Xing Shan Boro Bolo Mido Shi, was practicing the deep prajna paramita. Okay, so what in the world could that mean? How do you practice paramita? Is that like practicing your foul shots on the foul line, or practicing penalty kicks? No, it's not. It's Xing is the verb which means to cultivate, to do, just can mean do, can also mean to travel, to go. We have a scholar whose name is Edward Konza, Dr. Konza. He was a British Sanskritist. His specialty was reading Sanskrit. And he was the world expert in Prajna Paramita, which is a whole library of literature, of which this is the most concise statement of it. He says, when Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara was coursing in the deep wisdom that goes beyond, that's how he translates it, coursing in the deep wisdom that goes beyond. So that doesn't help very much. What does it mean to course in deep wisdom? So practicing the profound Prajna Paramita, coursing in the deep wisdom, it just means that when Guanyin Bodhisattva was looking past the surface. Okay? What do I mean by that? Most of the time, folks who don't have access to prajna paramita, to any kind of wisdom, we react to the surface, right? Somebody calls your mother the name. Ooh. You hear a yo mama joke and it hits you where it hurts, and you people right away. You can't talk about my mother like that, right? Someone who is coursing in the profound prajna paramita might go, you know, you don't know my mom. That has nothing to do with her. I think it's your problem. You know, I'm not going to even bother to get angry. Why would I get angry at your affliction? You don't know my mother. She's very sweet. You know? And you stay profoundly unmoved, and that person gets like spitting into the wind. It comes back in your face. Why? Because you went past the surface. Most of us are just, we react. We hear something and it pushes a button and boom, up comes anger or fear or anxiety or any of the lizard brain responses. So somebody who can course in the deep wisdom that goes beyond, who can practice profound prajna paramita, looks at the leaves of the tree and understands that those leaves are connected underground to a root that is invisible. And in between is the trunk and the branches and the branch tips and the leaves. You go, it's a system. This is all connected. And to react to the surface it's one way to do it, but you're going to miss the actual, where the engine first turned, where the spark happened that produced that result. So Guanyin Bodhisattva looks past the surface, is what it means. And we who want to get some benefit out of the principles of Buddhism can look below the surface, can take a breath, something happens, you go, take a look. You know, let me contemplate the way Guanyin does. And then maybe it's the time for action. That's not to say you don't act, but you don't act only on the surface. When Guanyin Bodhisattva was practicing profound prajna paramita, using her wisdom, notice the pronoun she. We just chose to do feminine pronouns all the way through. Could have been, we could have used she for the first one and he all the rest, but why not be consistent? The point of that choice is just to kind of even things out a little bit, to make the point that the Buddha Dharma is gender neutral. Not only is it gender neutral, it's species neutral. That's, you know, why stop with humans? The Buddha Dharma was taught for every phase of incarnation. So who knows what we have been in past lives and where we will be in the future. So it's helpful to kind of loosen up our idea that everything has to be from the perspective of the male. So Guanyin Bodhisattva illuminated the 5 skandhas. Oh man, that is Buddhist jargon, isn't it? That's code language, right? So one thing for sure about Buddhism is there are lots of lists, The 2 this, the 3 this, the 4 this, the 5 this, the 6 this, the 7 this, all the way up to the 100 dharmas of the Sarvastivadins and the 84,000 dharma doors. The single vehicle, the 2 truths, 3 refuges, the 4 noble truths, the 5 skandhas, the 6 paramitas, the 7 links, the 7 limbs of enlightenment, right? The 8-fold path, the 9 contemplations of the stinky corpse, the 10 paramitas, right? On and on and on. There is even in Buddhism this thing called the Fayan Dulin. It's a book of lists. There are so many lists. Why is that? It's because Konza, again, Konza has this principle. He says this observation. He says Buddhism originally was renunciates, men and women who went out to see if they couldn't get beyond just the eternal rounds of running from pain and pursuing pleasure. And when they got together, they passed on practices. Somebody said, hey, try this, let's meditate. Oh, let's try this, let's bow. Try this, let's hang upside down from a tree limb by our knees. Some of the practices got rejected, like that one. Let's walk on coals. No. Let's fast until our ribs look like fence slats. No. So he says those are called mother lists, maturka he calls. And he said the numerical lists of Buddhism came from lifetimes of people practicing and coming up with literally the best practices. So the 5 skandhas illuminated the 5 skandhas, and what about it saw that they were empty. And with that vision of the emptiness of the 5 skandhas, crossed beyond suffering and difficulty. Pain and trouble went away when she saw that. Okay, that's it today. What indeed are the 5 skandhas, and how do you illuminate them? So the Chinese is Zhao Jian. Zhao Jian Wu Yun Jie Kong. When you Zhao Jian, you illuminate them. What it means is you see them as they are. You light them up. You shine a spotlight on them so that you're clear about what they are. Now, what are the 5 skandhas? This is, I think, really, really helpful for all kinds. Anybody who's ever had a psychology course, anybody who's currently enrolled in a psychology course, anybody who has taught a psychology course, oh my goodness, this is so helpful. This is Buddhism's personality inventory. So if you've studied Jung, if you've, Carl Jaspers or any of the contemporary post-Freudian psychology, they all have their tending in. When I took Psychology 101 as a freshman, and I was really disappointed because the best that they came up with for European analytic psychology was psychosis, neurosis, paranoia, schizophrenia, and other related negative pathologies, right? So illness. It was there to classify illness. And one of the best, if you went to the Talking Cure, which was Freudian psychology to see a shrink, mostly the result was, oh, I'm afraid you are paranoid schizophrenic with multiple delusions. That was kind of the result you got. This is what's wrong with you. And what I was hoping was an exploration of the mind. What's going on? I don't feel particularly, paranoid schizophrenic. Occasionally I'm anxious. Occasionally I'm afflicted. But where's the good stuff? Where's the mind when it's healthy? And that wasn't, there was no celebration of mental health. There was only this listing of kind of success when discovering that you were really neurotic and varieties of neurosis. Okay, so the Buddha, 2,500 years ago, said, let's look at this thing called the human being. Let's look at the personality of the human. What are the components of people? He said. 何谓人? What is a human? And the first breakdown is 2 things: body and mind. That's a person. 2 separate things: body and mind. Here's the breakdown. Body, says the Buddha, no matter whether you're a mosquito or a whale, no matter whether you're a coyote or a possum, whether you're a snake or a cane toad, your body is made up of solid parts, liquid parts, a certain amount of warmth, and empty parts, the the passages in between that allow the blood to circulate, that allow the breath to come in, that allow the sounds to reach the eardrum. So earth, air, fire, and water. 地水火, 地水火风. Those are the four components. Every body who ever lived, everyone alive now, everyone going to come in the future, will have share the same makeup. No exceptions. Your best friend on 4 feet who wags his tail, right? Earth, air, fire, and water, right? Grandparents who passed away, earth, air, fire, and water. The most evil, nasty people who've ever taken breath, the very best saints and blessed ones on the planet in history, earth, air, fire, and water, no exceptions. And one of the best parts about this, the thing that I really enjoy about the Buddha Dharma, is every aspect of it is immediately verifiable, right? There it is, right? And wet, yep. Warm, yep. And I'm using the spaces right now. In fact, somebody on Instagram recently came up. I don't know if I can do it. I keep stumbling over this. This is a really good one. He said, if you take an atom, let's say carbon, take a carbon atom and divide it up into a standard atomic analysis. There's the nucleus, there's the protons and the electrons. And the nucleus is supposed to be here and somewhere, let's say in a carbon atom. And the protons are however many, carbon, what is carbon's atomic weight? Anybody know? Is it H2O, water is, so carbon has a certain amount of weight. The electrons are buzzing around like this with a certain amount of magnetism, electromagnetism that holds it together. If it's stable, it holds it together. If it's unstable, it can be pulled apart. He said when you actually go down into the atom and look at the components and how in a single atom, the distance between the nucleus, the protons, and the electrons, if you scaled it up to the size of a human body, for example, compared to its actual size, the distance between the electrons and the nucleus would be from here to the moon, was it? And everything inside it is space. The point of this breakdown is to say a thing that we would consider to be solid, a carbon atom, is mostly air. It's mostly space. If you took the tiniest and scaled it up to the body size and then measured the distance between the component parts of that single atom, scaled up to human size, would be from here to the moon, space. So our body is mostly space. We experience it as solid, and yet it doesn't take much. Go look at what washes down the drain when you shower. You'll see lots of parts of the body comes off when you shower, or the ring around the bathtub. It's like, it's not solid, is it? It's really in flux. It's really fluid. So earth, air, fire, and water. That's the first skanda. Skanda, Sanskrit word, always sounds like a Swedish drinking game. Skanda, skål. It means heap. It means a component. The best illustration that I know is your computer. Back when computers, before they were laptops, you had the CPU, you had the hard drive, you had the motherboard, you had the keyboard, you had the monitor, you had the cables, you had the printer, you had the scanner. All these components had to come together before you had a computer and could have the experience of computing on these components. Take away the motherboard and the whole experience falls apart. Doesn't light up. Take away the hard drive and you've got no software. So like the computer depends upon its components to give you the experience of computing, skandhas must all be there before we become a person in the Buddhist definition. Skandhas are, I like to call it, components. Other people call them aggregates or heaps. People translate like a heap of leaves, a pile of leaves. So skandhas, body is number one. So I said, first of all, body and mind, that's body. Earth, air, fire, water, held together by the glue of karma. Karma translates as actions, neutral. Not good, not bad. People misinterpret karma. I mean, uh-oh, karma's coming, man, watch out. Yeah, but what about good karma? When that comes, you're happy. So karma is neutral. It just means action and the results. So seeds and the fruit that they produce, and then the seeds in the fruit that reproduce. That's karma. Okay, karma is the glue that holds the earth, air, fire, and water together. They say the fact that we're all here in human form indicates a certain amount of good karma, and that we were sitting here together, listening, thinking, talking together, meditating together. We have shared karma. We have collective karma together. That's all good. That's all right. So what we do with our bodies creates our future bodies. That's the glue that holds the skandhas together. So there's body. All right, let's leave the first skandha. I got to speed up. We're not going to make it. Or we could just slow down and really digest. If we can grasp this concept of the skandhas, the heaps, the components of the personality, as I say, I find it super, super useful. All right, 5, 1, body, 4, our mind. What are they? So the next one is called form. He says, form is not different. So too our feeling is number 2. He lists the 5 in paragraph 2. So the 5 skandhas that Guanyin, that Avalokiteshvara was illuminating, was lighting up, include number 2, feeling skandha. We've all got them. We've all got a feeling component. And what is it? It's 2 things. It's emotion and also sensation. All right? Now, as we look across at form, feeling, oh, by the way, the body skandha called form, si in Chinese, rupa in Sanskrit. Master Hua called it shai in his Manchurian pronunciation, si. These are kind of tricky to translate, and I've heard a lot of Buddhist teachers that say rupa skandha, the rupa skandha, to avoid having to call it form and to not want to have to call it body. So they say the rupa skandha, meaning the aggregate of form or the component of the body, all acceptable translations of rupa, si in Chinese. So we said, 照见无因度一切苦厄，这里是四不异空. There's the word in Chinese right there. Line 2, character 4, si. It's the word for color, interestingly, but in here it means the form skandha. Okay, number 2, feeling, both sensation and emotion. So we've got body, and now he said we're going into mind, but what is mental about sensation? Interesting, good question. Have you ever had pain and then been so scared you forgot that you were hurting? Or have you ever had, let's say we have a headache, and so we take an aspirin and we forget, something happens and we forget the pain of the headache because we took an aspirin, et cetera, or, martini. Sensation includes such things as heat, cold, pressure, smooth, rough, coarse, sharp, all of the different things that impact the body, the skin, things that impact the nose. I brought over some incense, some really nice incense. And while we were sitting, I was aware of that incense kind of reaching my nose. That's sensation. So sensations can include things such as sights, sounds, smells, flavors, touch, and I don't know if consciousness of thoughts, is that a sensation? Sensation is impacting the body. And yet, where do we feel it? Show me smooth. I can't show you smooth because I feel it. Smooth. Okay, here, this is smooth. Show it to me. It's very subjective, isn't it? You can't see my experience of smooth, so it's mental. It's in the mind. Okay? So it's the first of mind, but the skanda of feeling called samsara? No, rupa vedana. Vedana is Sanskrit, number 2. Shou in Chinese. The second skanda includes what? Emotion. And oh my goodness, there it is. Emotion is one layer deeper from the body into the mind, away from the body purely into the mind. Emotion still has a thought component. Horror films, right? Horror movies, scary movies. It's like you're just sitting in your seat watching the screen, but you're terrified. Whoa, that's really scary. I really love it. Love story, rom-com, TV, or streaming. We're not experiencing it, but we still cry when there's a happy ending. Is that a feeling? Yeah, generates feelings. And yes, it is emotion. We feel it rise up. Anger comes up really fast. Fear, we experience fear. The Buddha listed 7 emotions that every human is hardwired to experience. 喜怒哀惧爱恶欲 happiness, anger, sorrow or grief, hatred, love, hate. Let's see, 喜怒哀 grief, 喜怒哀恶 喜怒哀惧 fear is number 4. 喜怒哀惧. So happiness, 喜怒 anger, grief, fear, love, hate, and desire was the last one, interestingly, as an emotion. 喜怒哀惧爱恶欲, the seven ghosts that the Buddha called them. So where do those happen? And I definitely experience emotion. And sometimes it's just overwhelming. It washes us away. COVID was a collective period of grief and fear. I mean, I just, the big, I listen to progressive podcasts, and Trump is going around saying, well, you were better off 4 years ago. Think back. You were better off 4 years ago. And so one of the progressive podcast hosts went back exactly 4 years ago, and it was 2 months into COVID. And here was Trump on saying, we know for sure that it's nothing to worry about. The people who've got it are well controlled. You don't have to worry about it. It's just fine. It's just like the flu. Meanwhile, 1 million Americans, So these emotions they're really strong. And as the radio host, the podcast host, played actual news broadcasts from 4 years ago, 2020. It was March 2020, and we had just New York City had shut down for the second week, and you just went back, and there was this immediate, I could feel myself just pulling in at hearing the sound of this brand new virus that nobody knew anything about. So emotion, right? Emotion is strong. And the Buddha says, welcome, here it is. Get to know it. Come to grips with it. Make it your friend and learn to experience healthy emotion, not cut it off and deny it, but understand where you experience it, how it arises, and how to transform it, because we can. Confucius said that the emotion, he didn't list the same 7, he listed 4, but he said you have to experience emotion in measure. That's healthy. So what have we heard? We've heard that the second skanda, the second component, has sensation. And if you get closer into the mind, deeper into the mind, it's got emotion. Sensation doesn't have much thinking in it, but still you can mind over sensation. You can ignore pain. You can live with when your teeth are chattering because it's so cold. That's a little bit of mind over matter, but sensation is mostly body. Emotion is partly body, but mostly mind. For example, when we get angry, some people turn red, some people turn black, some people turn green. Jealousy is a green emotion. It's really true. So emotion can bring about physiological change. So it is body, but it's also mind. So isn't this interesting, right? This is the Buddha saying, right, welcome to Buddhist Psychology 101. This is the way I want my disciples to illuminate the 5 skandhas and see that what? They are all empty. Empty? But wait a minute. I can feel that. That's not empty, right? What do you mean empty? Good question. Okay, we'll do one more skandha and then catch the last 2 next week. Number 3 is thinking, the thinking skandha. Now, this 3rd skandha leaves the body behind. It's mental. Is it in the brain? And the Chinese tradition is to say it's in the mind. The Western tradition is to say it's in the mind, right? For a Western to say, well, I've been thinking about it all day. He goes, there, right? No, here. Chinese, this is where thinking happens. In the Xin, very interesting. So the 3rd skandha, the thinking skandha, is it's very much a process. It's not me. It's not mine. This is people who have these near-death experiences report that the last thought they had before they went out to the light down the long tunnel, heading towards the final rest, the last thought they had was, oh my gosh, I left clothes in the washer. I forgot to put them in the dryer. Or the last thought was, oh no, who's going to feed the dog? It's just the most mundane thoughts think us. Our thoughts think us. It's like they're a tide on the shore that comes in and goes out, followed by yet another one that comes in and goes out. These thoughts just come. How can you prove it? Sit still and meditate, as we just did. Sit still and watch your mind. Waves on the sand, waves on the sand. Where do those thoughts come from? Well, the answer is habit. How have we used our mind? what do we do with our six senses when we're not meditating? That determines what we're going to see when we meditate. Oh man. I went through a period of my life when I wasn't talking. I didn't speak for 6 years. And I didn't read newspapers and didn't touch any, wasn't media back in 1977, the way we have media now. No newspapers, no books, no conversation. So anything that was in my mind was only what I had picked up that day from first, opening my eyes until, and it didn't come through conversation, through words. So I was super aware of the vacuum cleaner function of eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body. How we're just out there absorbing the world constantly, nonstop. And it took me, I was a graduate student before I became a monk. I was a speed reader. I was reading multiple books at once and in multiple languages. And to suddenly go on a reading fast, oh, my brain was just like, give me something to read. Give me something with print. I'll translate it. What language do you want? And it was, oh, golly, it's only habit. It's just whatever we put in front of our eyes, for better or for worse, it's yours. And it goes right into the mind. So where do those thoughts come from? Don't ask anybody else. Only look in the mirror. And we know where those thoughts came from. They also come from what we've done in the past. But there's the Buddhist ancestors described this process where mind sucks up input, sends it to the sixth consciousness. We'll get there. That's skandha number 5. Classifies it, categorizes it, sends it across a transmitting consciousness into the storehouse consciousness, where it plants a seed. And every experience we've ever had is planted in that place, is filed away. And it will, if there's a karmic force behind it, by involving someone else in a wholesome or unwholesome relationship, that will come back and bloom and bear fruit in the future. So that's the thinking skandha is right there. And man, oh man, it's such a relief and a shocker at the same time, at some point when sitting, to realize how our minds are just a function, how impersonal they are. It's just like a computer. It's not you, it's not me. And yet we take our thoughts as so precious, and don't insult, he said something, he just raised his eyebrow. He gave me that look and it just ruined my day. I was pissed off all day, ruined my day because of that. Oh, look, we attach so much importance to the programs that we run, but ultimately they are not us. They're just programs. They're just functions. And it's so liberating to be able to, at some point in your sitting, to go, I don't have to react. Who says that I have to identify with all that stuff politically, gender? Who says I'm just John's wife? I'm so much more. Who says I'm just an employee of the teller at the bank? That's not me, et cetera, et cetera. Very liberating to be able to identify that third skandha as just a function. It's my function, as long as I'm in this body, but it has no power to compel me to respond in X, Y, and Z the way I've been doing it because of my job, because of my relationship, because of my own habits, right? So very liberating. Okay, that's 3 out of 5. Don't be late next week. You're going to miss number 4 and 5. Oh man! And then on the quiz, what will you do? Okay, want to pass these around, Ben? Yeah. This is the meditation handbook. We've been promising these for some time. We gave everybody a virtual copy who asked for one. This is a product. This is a product of the Berkeley Buddhist Monastery. I am co-author of it. And one of the best parts is the nun who did the illustrations. One of our young Vietnamese nuns is really skillful. This is an introduction to various ways of meditation. And it starts with body and mind. Deliberately, we ask the nun to make the illustrations male, female, young, old, Eastern, Western, multi-ethnic. So there are old people sitting in chairs. There are African American females meditating. There's only a couple Buddhas in it. So this book, there's only 2 Buddha images. The rest of it is non-sectarian. It's just information about the experience of meditation. One of my favorite stories is Yasser Arafat. Boy, Gaza has taken on a whole new place in our collective awareness. Arafat used to be head of the PLO. His widow does Vipassana meditation quietly, secretly, in the closet, because she doesn't want her hardline Islamist friends to know. Anyway, she's a regular meditator. I think she lives in Paris now. And she brought this out to a friend who is a friend of ours and said, this is the best introduction that I found to basic meditation. So Madame Arafat gives it. We should probably get her to do a blurb on the next edition, right? So we'll go further. Anyway, you're welcome. Pass it around, take it home. If you want to bring it back and ask questions, please do. We won't be teaching out of this right away. We want to teach out of the Heart Sutra. And, but this, I think if anybody wants to digest the contents of this, you'll have a pretty solid grounding in the variety of meditation as presented by the Chinese Mahayana or Chan school. Sam, do you want any comments about it? Anything to point out, or anybody who's used this? Anybody got a, Ben, do you have any?
Yeah, I think it goes right from, from using breath and progresses through different forms of meditation. So it's quite, if you read it from front to back, it sort of goes in a progression as well, different levels. And it's very, very simple, very concise, and a very good book.
Including metta contemplation, metta loving kindness meditation, and including things like special states, things that can occur while you're sitting, diet that supports meditation, exercise, etc. So please enjoy it. Okay, there we go. We'll dedicate merit.
The book has the dedication merit.
Oh, yeah, in the back, last page. There we go. That's the reason to bring it back. So you learn our song. We want you to feel free to dedicate any merit or goodness from meditation out to the world as you care to do. We like to share the results and make the world a better place as a result of our practice. So. As one and radiant with light, share the fruits of peace with hearts of goodness, luminous and bright. If people hear and see, our hands and hearts can compassion, wisdom, and to joy. May kindness find reward. May all who sorrow leave their grief and pain. May this boundless light dispel the darkness of our endless night. Because our hearts are one, this world of pain turns into paradise. May all become compassionate and wise. May all become compassionate and wise. May all become compassionate and wise. Okay, that'll do it for this week. See you all next Saturday. Stay healthy.